Hi there, welcome to today's Business Growth Club show. We are so pleased to have you here. The theme is growth marketing.
We're talking about actions and consequences today.
It's all about purpose.
Driving business growth with using KPIs.
We're talking money mindset.
The Growth Club, I mean, not to oversell it, but it's so well organised. So yeah, it was totally invaluable.
The Growth Club, coupled alongside with the Masters that I'm doing at Strategic Leadership at the moment, both of those things happening collectively have definitely transformed, and the Growth Club did have a massive impact for our business.
What is it that attracted you to come to the Growth Club in the first place? Let me just ask you to start off with that.
Well, because it was the two of you, basically.
Hiya, well, I say it every week, that excerpt from Making makes me smile so much. It's always
100%.
So good to see, and a big welcome. Yeah. Does it make you smile as well, Mahmood?
Actually, as I'm busy doing that air guitar, so it's weird actually. Before we come live, everyone's sitting at home thinking, what a wonderfully sort of smooth operation these two are up to. At the moment, we just chat about nothing. We talk about a few seconds about the show, get that show reel going, the music kicks in. Making finishes it off really nicely, smartly, and we've gone all high tech. We've got some slides tonight as well. So yeah, a good way to set the tone of the show.
Yeah, and so moving forward from the flip chart activity from the last show. So if you've not seen that, go and watch that on replay. But stay here first and stay with us this evening, because we are talking about behavioural economics for entrepreneurs, and maybe you know about behavioural economics, and maybe it's new to you. Let us know what you think. But we're going to be sharing some stuff with you that is really thought-provoking, and I love this stuff. It is so interesting, it's fascinating, and it makes such a difference to how we behave. And once you unlock it, it's like opening a box of secrets of what makes things tick. So
it's a powerful.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't know when you first came across it, Joe. I first came across it ages ago, because I know retailers, supermarkets, they are experts at tapping into this approach to thinking and approach and all the rest of it. And it's amazing how many businesses, entrepreneurs, this is the untapped gold, that if you unlock its mysteries and actually get your head around it, you don't have to be an expert psychologist. It's amazing, a very, very, very powerful tool to reframe your business and approach.
Yeah, and people often use behavioural economics in the context of either marketing or just general behaviour change. And I'll talk a bit more about that later. And I know you've got some ideas about that as well, Mahmood. But we're going to use it differently and give you some competitive advantage by thinking about how you can use it with your customers, yes, for marketing, sales and all of that, but also your own decision making and with your staff, your team, your people as well. So it's a rich topic, and I think you're going to find out things that you knew but hadn't really ever thought of before in quite the same way.
And there's also some great stuff. When me and Joe were talking about the show, not only we're going to share some examples with you, things that you've come across in your daily life, but also think of it in terms of use this new wisdom that we're going to give you, this new power, use it ethically, use it with integrity. And these super criminals who are listening in to the show, thank you for your company. Hashtag replay if you've got any comments, but use it wisely, use it ethically, and it will make you reflect and ponder about your own buying decisions, as well as the ones that, how you can use it internally, as well as for marketing and promotional purposes as well.
Yeah, and we are, as you know, no BS, stuff that really works, stuff that is evidenced, and stuff that makes a real difference to growing your business and growing your business profitably and achieving your version of success. And what behavioural economics is, it is a whole area of research and study. It's a discipline, a legitimate discipline on its own. And what it is that in the traditional economic view of the world, we make logical decisions. So we would make the best purchase decision based on what it is we want to buy, what it is we want it to do, how much it costs, how much value for money it represents. And we would make a logical, analytical decision. But we know that actually about 95% of our decision making is driven from emotion and through other things that we have evolved to do and to think. And so what behavioural economics unlocks for you and your business, it unlocks for you insights into how you can do things, just some small tweaks that can really open big potential for you simply by looking at things differently. So let us know, have you come across behavioural economics before? Are you using it in your business? And if so, how? And we're going to get into the subject in a lot more detail. But, Mahmood, as you said, it's been around for quite a while, hasn't it?
It is 100%. And as I said, I remember encountering a long time ago in terms of the supermarkets, in terms of very competitive space. Obviously, the whole idea is the supermarket is like a big box. Their idea is to bring product into the store, get it out the store as profitably and as quickly as possible. So for the use of things like colours, psychology, what triggers the buying patterns and behaviour, they are very acute on doing that. There are other industries that are also acute. I think it's probably worthwhile picking up, Joe, when we talked about this earlier on. One of the reasons for putting the slide in, everyone, just to reference this here, just reinforcing what Joe was saying, traditional view about us as humans, as people, when it comes to making decisions, the traditional economic view is we're rational human beings, we make decisions logically, we think about what we're doing, we analyse, we think what's the best fit, and we make the decision accordingly. But actually, that only happens 5% of the time. The rest of it, the behavioural view, which is probably more in keeping with what we like as human beings, both in business and buying into business, is we're irrational, we make emotional driven decisions, we're unpredictable in what we do. And that's really, I think, the key driver that we need to tap into. So everything me and Joe are going to talk about tonight anchors on that behavioural view, which, as I said, Joe said, is reinforced by science. And it's not just the marketing perspectives, by the way. I've been thinking this through when Joe talked to me about saying, why don't we talk about behavioural economics? Thinking, that's a great, powerful thing to look at, because you can look at it in terms of numbers, in terms of running your business, how you deal with your staff. It's an amazing. So I'm dead excited to delve into this a bit more.
Yeah, and you're so right about the scientific element. I mean, I've got a stat, and if I look down, it's because I want to get these stats right for you watching. So 95% of our decisions are subconscious. So, and that's from a study by Professor Zaltman of Harvard University, right? So this is good stuff. What we do is we make our decisions based on the subconscious drivers that we have, based on emotion, and then we justify them with logic after the event. So we're not logical, rational human beings, and what's really going on? What's really going on in people's minds when they're making decisions? If you think about it, we all know what's good for us. I mean, I'm trying really hard, but I know I should eat less and exercise more. We all know that we should spend less time in front of the telly and do all sorts of things that we should be doing that are good for us, but we don't do them. We don't. Some of us do, and some of us don't. But we don't do all the things that we know that are good for us. Why is that? Well, that's behavioural economics at work. That's the thinking about the motivation and how we're problem solving and how we're thinking things through. So, do you do everything that you should, Mahmood? Are you good like that?
Absolutely not. And I would say probably in certain things, I'm very logical and analytical and all the rest of it. This may be a great shock to you, but I'm a human being in other things as well. And in terms of things that I do, I'm right back into that irrational, unpredictable human being who doesn't actually do things logically. And I've done that thing myself before, by the way, when I've made a decision in business or my personal life. I do it because it feels right, because it triggers those emotional responses. Then I'll think of a justification to back up why I've actually done that. And if you need to talk in terms of justification there as well. And I think also, everybody, this isn't just a business thing. This is a life thing. So policymakers in recent years have embraced the idea of behavioural economics, and in the messaging and the policies they come up to when they're trying to influence behaviour, trying to influence us to behave in a particular way. There's behavioural economics is being leveraged very heavily. You can see it in the charity funding raising field. So every single facet of life that we're familiar with does that. But yeah, coming back to your original question, Joe, I would say to a large extent, a lot of things that I do are influenced by the irrational behavioural science sort of thing. And there are a few things that I will still do logically. What about yourself?
Yeah. Oh gosh, yeah, very. I think definitely irrational, impetuous things sometimes. Not badly so, but it's part of being human. And although they seem like they're irrational decisions, why do great people sometimes make bad decisions when they know better? Why is that? Well, it seems irrational from the outside looking in, from a traditional economic standpoint. But actually, there are some good reasons. There is a rationale behind the irrationality, so to speak. And it goes back to our evolution and how we've evolved to survive, and how we've evolved to make the right decisions for us. So we're going to move on to some of those. But essentially, as humans, we've got inbuilt biases, and those biases are there to protect us, to cut through the noise and the stimulus and the variety that there is in everyday life. And they're there to work for us. But by understanding what they are, we can have better marketing, better customer communications, better sales, more profitability, and we can make better personal decisions as well. So we'll look at that, and we'll get into some examples. I just want to bring in this comment from Janice. Hiya, Janice. Oops. I liked your LinkedIn post actually that you put up about en route. That was one of my pet things I don't like either. So is this about the 80% who need instant gratification, the 20% who can work to the long-term goal? So yes, that has a behavioural economics link, doesn't it? That we're more motivated to have to do things towards an immediate reward than we are for the long term. And sometimes we'll even shortchange ourselves knowingly in the long term to get a quicker gratification. And there's the famous children's marshmallow experiment, where you can eat it now, and not get the reward, or if you wait, you'll get an even bigger reward. And children and adults more often than not, there are exceptions, eat the marshmallow because they can have it now instead of waiting. And that's a famous experiment. Thank you very much for that, Janice.
I like the chocolate marshmallow experiment. I think on a less sexy one, I think it's that also when people are given the choice between taking money today or a bit more money in 12 months' time, most people will go for the immediate consumption. Money in my hand is better than waiting 12 months down the road.
This is the old pensions. The number of financial services businesses, one insurance, one banking, that I've worked for in terms of as clients of my business. And the classical thing is, how do you get people to invest in a pension? There are certain customer groups who are very, very good at investing ahead and, putting pensions in place. And there are others that just that's far off, that's too far out there, And part of the challenge there, which is a subject for another day, is that we can't imagine ourselves beyond where we are right now. We can't imagine ourselves at a different phase, older, and not having what we have. But that's a subject for a different day. So
shall we get future episode? Yeah,
it is indeed. And before we get into the examples, you were saying about it's everywhere. After this, look at all the COVID campaigns, all the stay safe stuff, the social distancing, and all of that is built on behavioural science. And there is an organisation that specialises in that in the UK and works with government. So, Mahmood, I'm getting over enthusiastic. So shall we bring up the first example of choice?
Oh, let's see if this technology can work. So share the screen.
Look, there are loads of examples of this. So we're going to share a few today, and we're going to do some more next week. So choice. People think that having a load of choice is a really good thing. But it isn't always. The paradox of choice. Do you like having a lot of choice, Mahmood?
No, I think it's a very bad thing. I think the concept of people saying they want many choices I think we covered it on a previous show as well when we talked about the old classic Henry Ford example. You can have any colour as long as it's black. Paraphrasing that, we live in a world where there's lots of different choices, so different models, different colours, different sizes, different packages. And I think that idea of too much choice is probably counterproductive, counterintuitive. So yes, I like choice, but I don't actually like too many. Yeah,
and there's a reason for that. So this is based on one of the first. Of the three biases we'll talk about today, if I can get my teeth in. So paradox of choice. There's a famous jam study. So I'm just going to get the names right. This is often reported in different elements of research. Sheena Iyengar and Mark Lepper. And it all started with jam, all of this discovery. So one day they displayed a posh food store, 24 varieties of gourmet jam. And then on another day, there were only 6 varieties. Now, the table full of 24 varieties of jam attracted more customer interest than the table that only had 6 varieties of jam. But the table that had 6 varieties of jam sold more jam. More jam was sold from the same location. And we see this all the time, excessive choice, anything more than 3, maybe 5, but 3 ideally is too much for us to choose from. Do you find it's hard to choose?
Yeah, I think I think if you look at it as a decision-making thing, you've got too many variables to consider. The brain can't actually handle that many different sort of comparisons between them as well. So I think from a business proposition here, those businesses that I find that do well are the ones that actually limit the ranges. I know lots of businesses go down that thing where they rationalise their product offering, so they streamline what they're actually offering. Obviously, it has a knock-on effect as well. It's from a business perspective.
Yeah.
You know, the less offerings you've got, the less inventory that you might be holding, the less cost that you've got for doing that. But actually, from a consumer preference, from a customer buying habit, less is more.
Yeah, it definitely is. And that's supported by, the jam study was the first one, and there've been many, many more studies, and those similar results have been replicated all the time. So what this means is limit what you offer your customers to between 3 and 5 things. If you've got a shop where you sell lots of different things, then, there's some jam, there's some peanut butter, then, it's about offering 3 types of jam to 5, or 3 to 5 types of peanut butter, perhaps. So use this wisely. I actually, for a number of years, headed up own brand product development and marketing for one of the UK's largest supermarkets at the time, and it was about actually, we found that from a sales point of view, when we rationalised, reduced the range, and really focused, that this is where it helps you as well. It's not just about communicating to the customer that you've got this range, but it also means you've got more focus in your business, in how you spend your time and how you spend your resources, because you're pushing and doing a really good job of a smaller number of things, and that really helps.
Sorry, Joe, you can finish your tip first.
After you. Sorry.
I was going to say on that whole idea about choices, because I know we've spoken about. Obviously, it's come out in prominence in terms of behaving customer sort of buying patterns, behaviours, what we do, and all the rest of it. But I think if you look at it internally as well, when you're looking at things like what targets do you select, what should be your KPIs, what are the key things to focus on in the business, what do you actually tell your staff to focus on, actually getting them to focus on smaller, achievable targets, having more selective KPIs, having actually more refined targets. What I find is typically from not-for-profit organisations to commercial organisations that have a range of KPIs, what they do, they overload their team with all the different KPIs there. And what you should be doing is you should be focusing on a few selected KPIs, choose them, have a smaller range, and therefore actually the idea of actually achieving those outcomes will be much easier.
Yeah, and completely agree. And also, if you are selling, if you've got your three things that you're selling, put the one that you want to sell the most of in the middle, particularly if you're presenting it online, or put it in the direct eye line at eye level. And maybe make the other two that you're not so keen on selling sort of to the side, or where somebody has to make an effort to look at it. So put the one you want to sell in the middle whenever you present it. So there's all sorts of tips there. Paradox of choice. Limit the options. Don't feel you've got to be all things to all people. Do a really good job. Customers will find it easier to choose. Your overheads will be lower. Your focus will be better. You'll do a better job. Like Mahmood says, keep your KPIs, not too spread out. All of that, it works on so many levels. So that's a good one. The reason it's there, and it's because we need to focus, and we can't take in too many elements of stimulus. We're just not designed to do that. So make those things really stand out. So we've got another one coming up, haven't we, Mahmood?
I've got to ask you, Joe. Obviously, you probably won't reveal the name of the supermarket you work for, but when you did the selection, did you also factor in things like colours and music also to influencing buying behaviour?
Oh, there's all sorts of environmental stimulus. So lighting matters, temperature matters, the pace of the music matters. So as well, in terms of background music, no background music. So all of those that, aroma, if you're selling your house, put some coffee on. If you're a baker, have faux bread baking smell wafting through. Sometimes it's not even, there's nothing in the oven, but it smells like bread baking. All of those things are designed to make us buy in different ways. Yeah.
Like that. So is that cue for my slide number 3?
It's anchoring. Yes. I'm going to go on to anchoring and price while we're on all the supermarket and the sales things, because you can use all these, in your business, whether it's a coaching business, proofreading like Janice, the WeldMax business that Richard, that you have, you can use all of this in your business too.
Perfect. Now, just in terms, I know Joe's making us hungry she's talking about food here. So there's a little reference to picking up from what Joe was saying about anchoring and framing. If you look at those two there, if you look at the amount of food on the plate, Joe, what's your view? Do you think they both got the same amount, or both got different amounts?
Well, I've come across this. So I think if I didn't know what was going on, I'd say there looks to be more food on one plate than the other, but it's possibly an optical illusion based on the size of the plate.
Yeah, you're quite right.
Leveraging the size of a plate. Yeah, they say put more food on a smaller plate.
Yeah, so in terms of the anchoring and framing, the visual, in theory, my graphics aren't that brilliant there. The same quantity of food, and just from a health point of view, if you want to eat more, put stuff on a larger plate. If you want to eat less, put that on a smaller plate there. But it's amazing what the visuals can do to our perception of what's in front of us. Yeah,
there's some really really cool illusions as well that demonstrate that. Because what anchoring is about is that we don't actually make decisions in a vacuum. So in order to make a decision and to move forward, we need information around the core thing that we're deciding on, and that's called an anchor. We need something to compare things to. So if you just said which is the best portion to eat with those two plates side by side, you've got a comparison and a contrast. Whereas if a plate was on its own, you've no reference point in terms of which one is the right one to eat. So, Mahmood, how much, you've got a really lovely T-shirt on. Would you step back and show us your T-shirt?
There we go.
Look at that.
Straight from Miami. I don't
Tell
know if
us
you can
about
see it.
We can see it all. Tell us about your T-shirt.
Well, when the world allowed people to actually go on holiday and enjoy themselves, so around about February of last year, when I was in Miami, sounds very grandiose, on a cruise, post-tax return season, I normally have an event where I just think, right, I've worked very hard, my team's worked hard, so I'm going to take myself off. So on a cruise in Miami, went into a T-shirt shop, if I can say that not too quickly. Bought a host of t-shirts, and I like the look of this one here. And that was actually, this is the first time I've worn it in the last couple of weeks. Put it on there. So I thought that was quite an appropriate t-shirt to wear.
And why did you buy the t-shirt?
Because
I like it a lot, by the way.
Well, thank you very much. Well, it was a t-shirt shop, which helped. I thought I liked the look of the design. The guy did very well, actually. I don't know if it's a particular thing to you Americans or whatever. Very good at upselling. So when I thought I was actually going to the shop to spend a particular amount of money, I probably looked at my credit card afterwards and cried for about a couple of days, realising how much I'd spent. So it was a combo of reasons.
And if it's not a rude question,
far away.
You can tell me to bug off. You can tell me to bug off if you like.
I wouldn't dare.
But if it's not a rude question, how much was your t-shirt?
My honest answer is, Joe, I have no idea. I know that sounds really cavalier for a numbers person not to know, but in terms of that irrational human being coming out, when it comes to other clients' money and businesses, I know exactly what's going on with their businesses intuitively, instinctively, and it's quite sad because I actually remember clients' businesses going back 15 years, and even though we've got a very big client base here, I pretty much know everything that's going on. When it comes to my own finances, in terms of what I'm spending money on, I tend not to pay too much regard to it. So I can't actually remember how much I spent. I just know it made my eyes water when I got the credit card bill.
Right. Now, it's a lovely T-shirt, so don't be offended.
I'm not going to be. I'm going far away.
Well, you don't know what I'm going to say yet.
That's true, actually. I might be offended then. I might be offended then.
You might be. This could be the end of a wonderful relationship, everybody. You might be seeing it here, live right now. But
okay.
If that same T-shirt was hanging on a hanger on Leicester Outdoor Market, would you have bought it?
That's a good question, actually. I'm going to be obtuse and probably say I probably wouldn't have done for two reasons. One, I don't go shopping at Leicester Market. Number two, I think the ambience of the shop and the environment and all the rest of it, and the whole setting and the framing of the shop, how it was put, the guy's patter, everything that was going on, it framed it such that instead of being just a functional purchase for a shirt with a bit of branding on there, no. Yeah. So yeah, I think if you look at the framing in terms of the whole environment, the whole context, how it was put comparatively, I bought into that very easily.
So Desmond Aras, thank you for your comment. Hiya, how you doing? It's saying no wonder your credit card balance went up. Absolutely. So this is where sort of framing and and anchoring comes in, which are the biases that we're talking about at the moment. So there was a frame in that you were on holiday, you thought you're going in for to buy a few things, and you bought more, and you big credit card bill. But if it were on Leicester Market, exactly the same thing, you wouldn't have bought it. That's framing. You feel differently when you're on holiday somewhere new, somewhere different. Yeah. You're treating yourself, you're relaxing than if you were walking past Leicester Market because you'd taken a different way to work. By the way, there's nothing wrong with T-shirts on Leicester Market, right? I'm sure the T-shirts are very, very good. So please, no offence intended to anybody there. But
that's Yorkshire talk, by the way, Leicester people. So if you are listening from Leicester Market, obviously, we still love you.
Of course we do. Of course we do. We're just sort of making a point and having a bit of fun with it. But how much we think something is of value depends on what's around it. So let me be clearer about that. So if that T-shirt was next to another T-shirt, so let's say that T-shirt was $50, $100.
Possibly, it could have been. Yeah, let's say for argument's sake, it was a $50 T-shirt.
Yeah, because you like the sound of that better. I can tell. That's the numbers person. So $50, right? But if all the other T-shirts in the shop were $10 and that was $50, your T-shirt wouldn't seem like as good value, would it?
Not true.
Would it?
No.
Right, but if the other T-shirts in the shop, you got a $50 T-shirt, and if all the other T-shirts were like $75, and you really like that one, you think this is a great buy, this is a bargain, because this one's only $50, they're all $75. you see. So this is what price anchoring is about. So when you put a price on your website, on your product, on your service, whatever it is, then make sure that there's what we call a reference price, an anchor price that gives the customer something to compare to, and make the reference price higher so that people feel that what they're buying, they can see the value in it. Now, we're not talking about any funny business here. We want you to be straight with people and do this ethically. Yeah. I've got another comment from Jesminara. Yeah.
No disrespect to car salesman here.
So an American would have been happy to buy that T-shirt at Leicester Market. Absolutely. We've had some, because they're in a different place and they're visiting, and it's a souvenir. It's something, something new, isn't it? Thank you for that.
It is. I was just saying that, no disrespect to car salesmen, they do a great job, but car salesmen do that pretty brilliantly as well. They come in with a big headline price, knowing that their customer is going to drive that price, but that's the reference point. So everything that we do, any haggling process that goes on, and a negotiation goes on, the general approach is going with a high price. Customer wants to walk away with a price that's going to be lower than the initial bid price there as well, and the answer will be somewhere down the middle. A good salesperson, by the way, a good business person, if that's your price negotiation, that's your pricing strategy, know what your walkaway price is. So if you've got the back in mind what your, for example, your cost price, the minimum price is, that anchor reference point is going to be the one your customer's going to tap into to drive down. So, it's a tactic that's used pretty much in a lot of places.
Yeah. So just some quick examples about how you can use it then. So if, let's say, I don't know, you've got a coaching business, you might have, buy this coaching offer here. If you were to buy all these things separately, it would cost you this much. But if you buy into this package, it will only cost you this. That's a simple reference price. And the same, we see it all the time as well in retail, don't we, with products. So with sizes, and buy this size and you'll get this much, and you'll get more value actually if you go for the bigger one, or the other way around, whichever way it is. So it's just very, very simple, but it makes a heck of a difference. The other thing is when you're spending your own money in your business, make sure that you go in with your own anchor point. And you're thinking, this is how much I'm prepared to spend on this, okay, rather than be influenced by external factors. So shall we go on to a bit more about framing?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm going to ask, so watching at home, let me know and let my mood know, put in the comments which one you think is best. I'm going to give you two options. I need to read them out. I'll give you two options and you tell me which one you'd go for. Option one. Okay, so you've got a health problem. You haven't really, we're just hopefully not. And the doctor suggests an operation. You'd like to understand whether the doctor could be relied on for surgery. You've received the following answers. Which one's the best? 1, out of 100 patients who had this operation, 90 are still alive even after 5 years. Okay, 90 are still alive even after 5 years. The other option is that actually 5 people died. 5 people died after that operation. Which one would you go for? Which one would you go for, Mahmood?
I think you'd probably, as a normal human being, you'd probably go for the one that's got the highest success factor. There is a tiny element of what they call loss aversion theory, but I would probably go for the 90 success rate is the one that's going to stick in my mind, and that's the doctor that I'd gravitate to.
Yeah. And now, if the doctor's only operated on 95 people, the result is the same, isn't it? So 90 people are still alive after 5 years. 5 people died, right? But if the doctor's only operated on 95 people, it's the same result either way. And this is where loss aversion, we combine the loss aversion, we don't want to lose, we don't want to back that, with how things are framed. So think about, Jasminara's going first option as well. Yeah, thank you. We've got Janice Thank you for your response as well.
Yeah,
Janice is saying she'd go for number 1. Yeah. And Alex, interestingly, is going for 5 people. Yeah. So there we go. Now, this is the thing about how stats are presented. So this is why, we would prefer to save lives because it's more positive rather than resist lives. Listening to the COVID national campaign to keep us safe and listen to the language that's used and tune in to that. And you start to see these little things all around us.
Do you know, as we're going through this, Joe, I'm just thinking about, and this might have to be another show actually, where we're going to talk about numbers a bit more in terms of relative numbers, absolute numbers. I remember when we were talking about this show, we were talking about the topic. I came across a bit of research from a teacher who graded his students actually. Let me get the story right here. The average mark on this exam had been something like 72% here. And all the students had created a big uproar here, complaining about how difficult the exam was, how tough it wasn't fair and all the rest of it. And you know what he did? He changed the grading, the point system on the exam. And instead of scoring out of 100, he actually then, to give them the same percentage profile, actually was saying that students were walking away with grades of 85, 90 as an absolute number. Now, most students actually liked that feedback and they thought they were performing well because as an absolute number, 95 resonated better than 72. Now, actually, what he'd done, he'd actually upped the scale and actually made the marks out 137. So even though there was no real difference here, people just gravitated towards the absolute number, not the percentage figure. So I just thought that was quite an interesting way to misapply numbers.
It works in so many ways. I mean, as a plus size lady, I prefer going into plus size shops where I'm a size smaller, but not really, but I'm a size smaller than I would ordinarily be because of how they label it. And they know what they're doing. There's nothing, they're making people feel better. There's nothing wrong with that. And Jasmine says, Jasmine Ara says we can call her Jasmine. Thank you for that. She's a full name. It's a bit of a mouthful. It's very, very, very nice name. And we've got another comment here as well. So Jasmine's suggesting that it'd be good if you did a session on pricing, why you should decide your price and stick to it like glue as it's representing your value. Yeah, we did one. We touched on pricing, didn't we, a couple of weeks ago? So we'll share that with you, Jasmine, and we'll also pick it up again in a couple of weeks. Great suggestion. Thank you very, very much.
It's nice getting this feedback from people as well about what they want on the show as well. That's really good and useful.
Yeah, we love that, don't we? So we've got more of these coming up next week, haven't we? We'll build some pricing ones in as well for you, Jasmine. But that thing about numbers, if you want people to think it's good value, then make the number at the front as small as possible. So it's not about it being 79 quid. It's not the 9 that matters. It's the 7 that matters because it's less than 80. There we go. So many tips. So more of this next week, Mahmood?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. Do you know what, Joe? The more, when we were talking about doing this show here, you don't realise, do you, until you actually get into it and research about how much more you can talk about. We could literally talk about this till the rest of the year, for the rest of the year on behavioural economics. Yeah. Obviously, we're not going to, everybody. There are other topics we want to talk about. If you're coming on catch up, by the way, just put in #replay. We'll know you're there. If you've got any questions you want us to pick up on. If you've got some thoughts that are business growth related, by the way, like Jasmine suggested pricing, you'd like me and Joe to pick up on future broadcasts, let us know. We're here for you. If you're interested in joining our mailing list, getting to know more about the Business Growth Club, we have got the next cohort earmarked for April 21. So, we'd love to have you join the mailing list, get some free tips there as well. I think on the ticker tape, go on there. There's a mailing list here. Me and Joe have got another conversation to have on Friday, and we've got some exciting stuff to reveal to everybody over the next couple of weeks or so.
Yeah, and just to finish off, Janice is saying, how can I get replays of this show? So thank you, Janice. We have a YouTube channel. So you'll find replays on there. And what we'll do is we'll put a link in to that in the comments afterwards as well, so you can get replays of this, because we're here every Tuesday at 6 p.m. and just really sharing some thoughts and some insights, stuff that really works to help you grow your business. And
Absolutely.
And that's what we're here for. Yeah.
So with Jays, now when we
we-
talked about this morning, we said we're going to do 20 minutes. It'll be all over, and it's now 40
we
minutes
never
here.
do.
And I suppose we've got to let people go home. If you're in the snow, by the way, just look
Yeah.
after yourselves. Be careful out there.
Yeah, it's snowy in Ripon. But yeah, so we'll be back same time, same place next week. Thank you so much for joining us, and let us know your thoughts. We'll reply to all the comments. Thank you, and see you soon. Bye.
Sure, let's play out with some music as well. Yeah. Goodbye. Good night, everyone. Have a great time.
Hi there, welcome to today's Business Growth Club show. We are so pleased to have you here. The theme is growth marketing.
We're talking about actions and consequences today.
It's all about purpose.
Driving business growth with using KPIs.
We're talking money mindset.
The Growth Club, I mean, not to oversell it, but it's so well organised. So yeah, it was totally invaluable.
The Growth Club, coupled alongside with the masters that I'm doing at strategic leadership at the moment, both of those things happening collectively have definitely transformed, and the Growth Club did have a massive impact for our business.
What is it that attracted you to come to the Growth Club in the first place? Let me just ask you to start off.